All right, we got a couple of weeks until Giants training camp kicks off, but don't worry. We got you guys covered. We're going to keep the big blue content flowing. Our New York Post Giants beat writer Paul Schwartz has some fire articles up on the Post. One, about new Giants defensive coordinator Shane Bowen and the defense. And number two, one that asked the $100 million question. Who are the stars on this team? Paul's on now. Paul, what's going on, my man? How are you feeling today?
Brandon, we're actually going to talk a little defense.
Defense. Defense. We're talking defense.
A former skinny, tall wide receiver is going to talk about defense, really? All right. I mean, you know, were you a student of the game back then? Do you know how to break down defense when you played?
Absolutely. I come from a defensive family. My father, former corner, defensive line coach, linebackers coach. So I came in the game as a safety. They told me I was a little bit too tall, too lanky, and they said I wasn't physical enough. So they threw me over to the receiver side. But like Plaxton, Amani Toomer used to say my rookie year, hey, they get paid too. They got to make some plays, too. So we didn't talk about them much, like we said, during our mini camp recap. So let's talk about the defense before we talk about star power. Wink's out, Shane Bowen in. Two different defensive coordinators with different personalities and completely different schemes. After you watched the defense throughout OTAs and all of minicamp, Paul, what were some of the biggest changes and adjustments you saw?
Yeah, big changes, right. I mean, you know, Wink is over 60 years old. Shane Bowen is, I believe, 37. He comes from a whole different, you know, coaching tree, as opposed to, you know, when it comes to, you know, what he believes are the tenets of his defense. And look, it is not going to be Wink blitzed 45% of the time last year. Shane Bowen in Tennessee with the Titans, like 22, 23%. So it right there, you see it. He's not a guy who wants to blitz. Look, Deonte Banks, the second-year cornerback, said it's still aggressive, but not as aggressive. And Bobby Okereke said, look, it's going to be a whole different look. So I asked Shane Bowen a couple of, last week or so when I said, look, everyone is talking about how less aggressive this defense is going to be. Does that mean when training camp comes, you're going to have T-shirts printed up saying New York Giants 2024, less aggressive, you know? And I knew, you know, I was really kidding around, but I knew that he gave me a look kind of like, yeah, I heard all this less aggressive stuff. And he said, there's a fine line between being schematically aggressive and being play style aggressive. And what he means as the 11 guys I have on the field are going to be aggressive. He says the play style ain't going to change. That's what he says. He wants guys to not shy away from contact, to run downhill. But the way he calls a game is just going to be less, maybe the word is not aggressive, less risk-taking, fewer blitzes. You know, he comes from a whole different tree, right? He comes from, Mike Vrabel, Dean Pease, who was, with the Patriots, Bill Belichick, they all worked together with the Patriots. And so, they know a different style. The Patriots were not a heavy blitz team. They were a lot of zone. They were a lot of selective blitzing. There were a lot of get home with 4 rushers up front. So that is what Shane Bowen is bringing. Now, desperate times calls for desperate measures. If he has to blitz, he will, but it's a different style. Not one is better or worse. They're different. The key is your guys have to know it and play it to the best of their capabilities.
And I think that's one thing Giants fans are kind of going to have to hold their temperament for the first couple of games, because you're used to Wink Martindale, who, in terms of personality and defensive schemes, that's New York. Be aggressive, laugh, smoke a cigar, that sort of thing. Giants fans really resonated with Wink Martindale more than Graham, because a lot of people thought Graham wasn't aggressive enough. But there's more than one way to skin a cat. I like the way that he is putting it on the front 4. Get after the quarterback. Play cover 4 on the back end and allow your DBs to kind of read and react on what's going on. That's something that the Eagles do, but the Eagles have been, 6, 7 deep when it comes to the pass rush. So, and getting after the quarterback. So if Brian Burns take Kayvon, Dexter Lawrence. There's your big three. Now, who else is going to be there? Aziz, you got to step up. A guy X, guy Y, you have to step up and be a part of that 6-7 man pass rush. You mentioned how you spoke with Bobby Okereke and Tay Banks. Anything any other guys are saying about not only Coach Bowen, but learning this new scheme? What are they saying about the scheme so far this spring going into summer?
You said it, Brandon, learning this new scheme. Look, it's not ideal. You don't want to, I mean, when you went to a new team or you were on the same team with a new coach, okay, now I get the game plan, I get the playbook. It's different. It's a lot different. Okay, I thought I had all this down. I look here. Only 50% of this is the same. Maybe 40% it's the same. This is the same, but it's called differently. Bobby Okereke said Wink, and he loved Wink. He's not knocking Wink at all. He said Wink wanted you to play hard and fast and kind of figure it out as you go. Okay? As long as you're playing downhill hard and fast, figure it out. That's not Shane Bowen's defense. They have verticals out there. There's one rule you have to follow. The offense presents something else, it's another rule you have to follow. He said, Bobby said, you kind of have to put it in buckets. Okay, so it's a lot more learning. There's a lot more rules involved, and you have to play to those rules. And that's going to take time. Look, you can't tell anything from you can just see basic schematics in OTAs and things. We'll see more when the pads are on in training camp. We'll see more in the preseason, and then we'll see, obviously once the season starts. But let's face it, the Giants the last 2 years under Wink were not a top 10 defense. They weren't. And their pressures were up, their blitzes and their sacks were okay, but they weren't great. They weren't great. Kayvon got 11.5 sacks last year, but their sack numbers were not great. So it's not like, look, Giant fans want 3 and outs, right? They want deflected passes, they want turnovers, they want interceptions, they want forced fumbles, they want field goals instead of touchdowns. So whether it is a bombastic, highly personal guy like Wink, or it's a much more low-key guy like Shane Bowen. Shane Bowen is not into, it's a Shane Bowen defense, it's my defense, it's my scheme. He's not into that. And the one thing I like, though, he's no soft touch. He said in that last minicamp, he said, look, I'm not happy. We did not come as far as fast as I wanted. And I told these guys, you're leaving for 5-6 weeks. When you come back, it's going to be survival of the fittest here, basically. The guys who can do it are going to get more reps, and the guys who can't are going to be, by the wayside a little bit. So he's not like, well, we all have to sit and learn. Kumbaya, we'll get it. He's like, okay, he said, we're not the new Giants defense anymore. Now we're the Giants defense. New is done. New is done. But having said that, it's still a new defense, and there's going to be some growing pains. There always are. There has to be growing pains. 2 years removed, you have a system in place. The guys that are coming back, now it's a new system. It will be growing pains, but you hope those growing pains don't, cost you points and touchdowns and losses. That's not acceptable.
And one thing that can help the growing pains, I'm glad they're doing the joint practices this year again. So now you can see your defense go up against a different scheme. Different offenses like to run all types of different concepts outside of what the Giants do. So now instead of when you read one and you have to react to 2 to 3, one could be going up the seam and then 2 could be coming on the under. Now you're going up against a Jets offense where one could go break to the corner. Now you have to there's different looks. So that could help with that growing pains. But at the end of the day, it sounds like things are going to be cerebral, more cerebral than just downhill physical for this Giants defense. And at the end of the day, you hope that this is what's needed, because the Giants defense has been a staple on this team to kind of keep this offense and this team in games when offense wasn't producing. So Tay Banks, Cordell Flott, we talked about the defense. Cordell, we didn't mention your name, but Tay, we mentioned your name. We got the defense out of the way. There we go. Stay out my DMs. All right, but Paul, you wrote a pretty interesting article today on the Post Sports Plus about this team lacking a star and the lack of star power on this team. I see the smiles. Talk to me, man. Talk to me. Are there stars on this Giants team?
Well, this is, what do they say? Follow the money, right? Money talks. The NFLPA put out their top 50 players as far as merchandise, jersey sales from the 2023 season, okay? Top 50. The Giants have no one on that list, and that includes Saquon, who obviously was on the team in 2023. Saquon was not on the list. So that's jersey sales, that's all memorabilia, that's anything that a player's likeness can be on, okay? And the Giants were not there. Now, is that the be-all, end-all on what a good team is? No. But as you know, stars sell tickets. You go on the streaming services to see these stars play. Okay, let's go down, real quick, okay? 1 through 10 in the league as far as, now some of these are kind of surprising. Patrick Mahomes was not number 1. So you have the merchandising jersey sales from 2023. Number 1, Jalen Hurts of the Eagles. Number 2, Jason Kelce. It's a center, but it's Jason Kelce, right? Patrick Mahomes, number 3. Travis Kelce, maybe a little help from his significant other, right? Taylor, number 4. Christian McCaffrey, 5. Aaron Rodgers, 6. Joe Burrow, 7. Brock Purdy, 8. Micah Parsons, 9. Justin Jefferson, 10. Now, if I gave you, you pick the top 10 for me, you might not have all those guys on the list, but they're all stars, right? They're all stars. It's a matter of, I didn't know Joe Burrow would be on a list. I thought this guy would be on a list. I thought this guy wouldn't. Okay, let's go 11 through 20, just to give the people listening here an idea of what we're talking about as far as star power. People want these guys' jerseys and memorabilia. Josh Allen, the quarterback, 11, followed by Jordan Love, right? Young quarterback, maybe that's a surprise he's on the list. CeeDee Lamb, Tyreek Hill, Tua Tagovailoa, George Kittle, Devonta Smith, Aiden Hutchinson, okay, some props for the defense there. Lamar Jackson, Dak Prescott. That's the top 20, right? They're not all MVP candidates, but that's who the fans look at and say, I want him. I want to wear that guy's number on my back. The Giants have nobody there. And I wonder, let's talk about this. I mean, is there any potential Giants who will be on the list? What do you think in coming up in 2024? Break into that top 50.
I mean, if we can get Daniel Jones dating Ice Spice, we might have ourselves a chance there. But you're right, Paul. You talk about this being the 100th year, celebrating the 100th year anniversary. The younger Giants fans, do they really know Lawrence Taylor? Do they really know who Michael Strahan is? You can watch the vintage footage and the highlights and be like, oh, those were the guys that we used to hear my dad and my uncles and my mom rave about, throwing parties on Sundays at the house to watch Giants football. Well, outside of Saquon Barkley, in the recent years, there hasn't really been that star, Odell, but Odell was shipped to Cleveland. So right now, I would say from my point of view, and I'm going to throw it on you next, I would say it's on Kayvon Thibodeau and Brian Burns, because collectively, and Dexter Lawrence, if all three of them collectively could come together, these three guys play well. Burns does a Spider-Man. Kayvon does all his dances. Kayvon has a chance to beat Michael Strahan, to be the new Michael Strahan here. And Dexter Lawrence with the sexy Dexy, you already have a dance. You've already branded yourself. Now it's just about wins and entertaining the folks. So I'm throwing it on you now from a media standpoint, because the Indiana Fever have Caitlin Clark. The Jets have Aaron Rodgers. Who on this team do you feel as though is on the verge of being the face of this franchise? And who do you feel like could, if they step it up and have themselves a big season, could be the face and a star here in New York City?
Well, look, I mean, I just gave you that list, the top 20. There's a lot of quarterbacks on that list, right? Now, this is a make or break year for Daniel Jones. We know he's not on this list. He's not going to be in a top 50. The Giants want him to be a serviceable, good, winning quarterback like he was in 2022. He gets a lot of money to do that. He's coming off an ACL. But you have to discount him. So, okay, the quarterback is not the face of the franchise. No, he's not. That's all there is to it. Look, their best players, I don't think it's a reach at all to say the best player on the Giants is Dexter Lawrence and Andrew Thomas, right? Now, look, those are not marquee money positions. Their money, as far as they both get paid a tremendous amount of money, right? Tremendous amount of money. Left tackle, defensive tackle. But those aren't the guys who sell a lot of tickets. I get it. Dexter, maybe if he gets sacks. Andrew Thomas, no. Left tackles do not make that list. That doesn't mean they're not terrific players. So you got to put them to the side too. I hear what you're saying about Kayvon. Look, Aiden Hutchinson is on that list. Micah Parsons is on that list. Can Kayvon take that next level and next jump and go from 11.5 sacks to 17, 18 sacks? Maybe. That's what it takes as a defensive player. Oh, by the way, you know what it also takes, Brandon? Winning. If you win, you get more eyeballs on you. That's all there is to it. You got a sack and a huge play in a game, and all of a sudden, wow, it's a game that led your team to the playoffs. People notice that. Really, look, it's unfair. I know your defensive guys, Cordell and Tay Banks were on you for not talking defense, but it's an offensive league. That's all there is to it. Most of the guys in these top 20, 30, 40, 50 are offensive players. You look at the Giants, running backs, no one. Sorry, Devin Singletary, no one. As far as not being not a good player, as far as being a marketable guy like that, a merchandising icon, no one. For tight ends, no one. That's all there is to it. No one. Wide receivers, at this point, no one. Wan'Dale Robinson's a nice player. We think Jalen Hyatt can be a better than nice player, a good player. And Wan'Dale could, be a guy who catches 80 passes this year. But they're not that kind of a star power. So to me, and I hate doing it, I hate putting it on a rookie, Malik Neighbors is the guy. I mean, more than Kayvon, more than Dexter, more than Brian Burns. It is Neighbors. Now, is that too much to ask for a guy going into his first year? Of course it is. As you mentioned, Odell. Odell was the last guy to be that guy, and then Saquon. Saquon was that guy. Oh, by the way, Saquon was also the rookie of the year in the NFL, right? Offensive rookie of the year. He came in with great acclaim, and he proved it on the field. Neighbors comes in with great acclaim. We all put him in Canton already, but his work in the OTAs and the minicamp and how great he looked. So maybe too much too soon with Neighbors, but he is the guy. Is he going to wear number 6? I don't know. That's his. Number 9, right? That's a discussion between him and Graham Gano, the veteran kicker. Whatever number Neighbors lands on, is that going to become a sought-after jersey number? There'll be a lot of them, I think. Whatever his number is at MetLife Stadium, can that equate to national? We'll see. We'll see. But it's always about offense, quarterbacks, receivers, running backs. Accent on quarterbacks and receivers. It's not going to be the Giants quarterback. Maybe it can be Malik Neighbors.
Paul, if we see Jake from State Farm at a game this year, like a good neighbor, that means young man is balling. And that's what this Giants offense and this entire fan base has been waiting for.
We need Arnold. No, we need Schwarzenegger in that commercial. Arnold Schwarzenegger. Ooh. Neighbor, like a good neighbor. Neighbor. He says it the right way, neighbors. You got to get on the horn with your contacts and you want to make some extra money, you got to put me in this. Contact Arnold Schwarzenegger. We get into an Arnold Schwarzenegger Neighbors. We need his a collaboration with Malik Neighbors, and there we go. Now we got something cooking.
MetLife, don't get mad at us. I know you guys own the stadium rights, but, hey, we're just trying to sell tickets here. Paul, we got about, 5 weeks left. What's on your agenda going into training camp?
Well, Giants, 100th year gala coming up this week, right? And that's going to be a big event, obviously. My agenda is to, keep on monitoring what's going on. Look, the Giants got some added salary cap money, right? With cutting Darren Waller retiring, so they have more money than they expected to have. About $10 million more in cap money. Do I think they're going to go out and spend 8 or 9 of it and bring in a cornerback or a tight end or something? I do not. But we'll see as things go. There's always be some minor moves here and there. My agenda is to keep watching and then take some time off and get ready for training camp because I think players report July 23rd. First practice in the Heat will be July 24th, and it'll be here before you know it. And, that's when things, no pun intended with the Heat, things really get cooking. You know what training camp's all about. You participated in training camp. You made teams because of how you did in training camp. Maybe you didn't make a team because of how others did in training camp at your position. No fault. That's the nitty gritty, right? I mean, training camp's important. OTAs are nice. Training camp is where guys, make teams and make careers and things like that. So that's, after a while, I'll take some time and then on to training camp.
All right. Well, appreciate you hopping on with us, Paul. And thanks for the great articles.
Thanks, Brandon. Take care.